maybe avoidance has nothing to do in this system. It has to go out. It has to go and take some very, very, very long walk and disappear. Alright everybody, welcome to another video. Even though I see the word dance and the word avoidance, we still have to address this because avoidance can be a form of self-sabotage that is pretty sneaky. Just like any other behavior, it is just a behavior and it is just a habit that the brain has learned through repeated actions. And the good thing is that we can definitely change it, because if we really want to dare to look into our potential, if you really want to dare to go into the world and really do whatever you want, maybe avoidance has nothing to do in this system. It has to go out. It has to go and take some very, very, very long walk and disappear. And that's what we're gonna do today. Because personally, I have really had some experiences with avoidance and with other forms of self-sabotage that I had to solve within myself. And I would say that from 90% the habits are gone, and I have taken some good lessons from the whole process. And also I've been talking to some people in communities on school, and this is really like a hidden shadow that we really want to cast some light on, because just the moment that you notice it from a very, let's say, calm and grounded state of mind, it almost immediately loses at least like 50% of its power. And with that, to finish it off, for the last 50%, I got like a little, I wouldn't say it framework, because it literally, I don't think that it is anything new. Again, what we're doing here is not a rocket science. It's not a naval engineering to put a freaking huge boat on the sea and make it go through the whole freaking Atlantic Ocean. No, we're not doing that. But we're still doing something that everyone in life should focus on, and that's self-awareness. And so with this part of the self-awareness, I'm gonna take you through like a little framework that is super, super helpful within the situation. When imagine that you're just doing something like, let's say, filling, I don't know, questionnaire that is important, but it takes like 1 hour to fill, or that you're doing a very important task for your job, or that you're sending out CVs to look for another job, or that you're building a business. You are currently in that state where you're doing repeatedly kind of monotonous thing. It's not super exciting. Like, for example, Netflix might be at that moment, dopamine wise, it would be on top. So imagine you're doing this task, and right now you come across, I don't know, you might be like 1 hour in or 2 hours in, and right now there is like this little discomfort that you feel, because you have just stumbled across like a little problem, or you stumbled across something that takes a little bit more time, a little bit more of your attention, of your thinking process, of your effort. Basically, it needs a lot of effort to solve this problem. And for some reason, you just get super frustrated with it, or you feel this discomfort. And there are, like, I would say, 3 things that you can do. The first thing is that you just are okay with discomfort and you're very much used to it, and this happens all the time, and you just continue doing the work. The second thing, the other extreme, is that you just feel this discomfort and you're like, all right, that's it. I mean, you don't consciously decide, I'm gonna close the laptop, or I'm just going to close this tab, or I'm just basically gonna go on my phone and scroll through reels. You don't even notice it. It's almost like a automatic reaction to this trigger. This means that you are very prone to escaping from difficult emotions, from discomfort, from frustration, and you have like a very low frustration capacity. And that is nothing wrong. It is just a set of previous decisions that have led you here. But from this point, you can always choose a different direction, and you can always come back and become very, very resistant to any kind of frustration. So that's also not a problem. And the third thing you can do is to literally stare at the wall. And that's basically part of the method. It's like a little sneak peek. We want to improve from that escapism to doing things despite how we feel. I love this little quote from Leila Hormozi. She said, "Fuck the mood, follow the plan." And yeah, it's super easy to say. It was super easy to say it. And to make it feel that doing this or practicing this in real life is as easy as saying it, well, we're gonna really need a little bit of work. And if you're this type of person that is usually triggered, doesn't like discomfort and knows it, or if you are having these automatic reactions, maybe the automatic reaction led you to watching this video. I don't know. I remember that recently I have had this like avoidance. I have noticed this avoidance pattern within me again, which is okay. Like if you have had any other habits, or if you have ever had, any habits that weren't productive, and you have successfully, removed them from your life, and they suddenly come back from time to time, like, don't panic. It's all right. We're humans, and you just wanna. It's amazing that you just notice them, and that's it. And you then just work more consciously on the fact that you are keeping the routine that is productive, or that is just. It doesn't have to be like productive all the time, but that is suiting you. So that's what I just wanted to say. And recently I have had this avoidant pattern, I would say. And I had this long journey. I was traveling for like, let's say 6 hours. And so I had 6 hours. I had 6 hours for anything, for writing, for reading. What I did was to choose to write. I chose to write a post. And I have been, maybe like 1 hour in writing one post. And then I went for another post. And I would be writing this second post. And I was like, not really. At this point I was not inspired at all. I didn't feel any idea come to my head, and I haven't even felt like I want to continue writing. Well, when it comes to writing, or when it comes to anything creative, it's kind of thin ice, like whether you want to wait for the inspiration or whether you want to continue. But definitely, even though it is a form of art, it would be form of art if I would be writing a song, which I also do. You really want to kind of not force it somehow, but you just want to write at least something, because like this you train the brain that you can always be in the flow. And for example, if you want to be more in the flow, morning pages are amazing for this, for the brain to understand that it is okay to just be on this wave of following your ideas and trusting your ideas and just writing out your ideas and stuff like that. And so this is something very, very valuable as well. And so when I was traveling, during the 6 hour travel period, I would be putting a lot of my expectations on how I'm going to write like 4 posts, like nothing. And I've put a lot of pressure on myself. So that's the first thing. Do not really pressure yourself. When you're in that state where you see yourself controlling, it would be either in presentation, it would be in performing, it would be in filling out a task or accomplishing a goal. If you're seeing yourself, if you're watching yourself, like controlling yourself, you want to take a break and you want to become present again. When you're controlling something, you're not being present. You're being judgmental, and you're basically are putting all the doubts, opinions, expectations from what you've ever heard, you're thinking about that. And now perform like you would normally if if the whole space created by you would be safe. That's it's a little difficult. So that's another thing. If you notice that you're controlling yourself, that you're looking at yourself performing, just stop it. Just stop what you're doing right now and take a break. Take like a little walk, listen to some music, or do some breath work, or do something that will not require you being under this control of your own. When you experience avoidance, let's say you're opening a laptop, and as I did, write the second post, I would be all of a sudden pretty frustrated with the fact that I didn't have any idea. I didn't know what to write, and I felt the discomfort. And I remembered that I haven't finished like let's say 1 hour from my favorite movie. I didn't finish it, yes. So what I did was to go on a Disney Plus to finish that movie. And so now let's analyze this cycle that I had, because it has some states. The first one is, when it comes to the old pattern, is the trigger. What was the trigger here? The trigger specifically was the fact that I didn't know how to continue. All right? So the trigger was that I didn't know how to continue, and that created what? That created discomfort. Discomfort in the fact that I am stuck in here, which direction I want to go with this topic that I'm talking about. All right, so that created discomfort. Well, so what this discomfort is, it's like a crossroad. Discomfort doesn't mean that there is a freaking tiger behind you trying to kill you. Discomfort just means that we had a certain expectation of ourselves. I had an expectation that I am going to write like 4 posts like this. Well, when you compare the expectation with the reality, the gap, the bigger the expectation, and the bigger, or let's say the lower the reality is, the bigger is going to be and more intense is going to be the discomfort. And so because I have also created some expectations of myself, I really felt intensely this discomfort. And this, as I said, is a crossroads. You can either go and finish your favorite movie, go watch reels, go to eat something, and you can go, even music is a form of, let's say, comfort. It's a form of getting a dopamine in. So even music, if you like listen to music, I would say it might be a little avoidant in some cases if you don't pair it with workout, if you don't pair it with dancing or anything that's connected with movement. That would be, on the other hand, like productive, or it would be beneficial for your body. I would say that music might be also a form of avoidance. So this avoidance is manifested through basically like escaping. So you escape by watching the reels, let's say. All right. And what do you basically get from watching the reels? You get less expectations of yourself, because now you're not in the field, you're not in the line where there has been set a huge expectation on yourself. You're in a completely different sphere, you're in a completely different field. You're in a fun line. And so no one has expectations of yourself, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything where you have felt this discomfort, and that creates relief. And so this relief then is like a little lesson for the brain. The brain then learns that, because the brain, like this little cycle, let's say, there is a trigger, there is a discomfort, then there is escapism, let's say the avoidance, and then there is the relief from this. This creates like a full circle of a learning loop for brain. Brain learns that escaping means relief. Escaping means good feelings. Escaping means I'm feeling good. I'm feeling safe. I'm feeling cozy. And this is literally a learning pattern that if you repeat, every time you repeat this, you strengthen the neural pathways that are always going to be working. You're never in one place. You're always going to either to your better self, or you're going to whatever, like the self that is not prone to use up or to touch your potential. But you're never staying in one place. You're always going in a certain direction. And so when you want to change this, all it takes is to stop in the discomfort. As I said, it's a crossroad. So you don't want to panic there. You want to stop there and you want to be prepared for it, because it can happen in any task that you're doing, and it is always going to be a good idea to be prepared for discomfort and for the moment of discomfort. And sometimes boredom is also creating a discomfort. And funny enough, in boredom, there has been some amazing things created in boredom. Some amazing symphonies, movies. One our entrepreneur has created a logistic company when she was 7 days locked in a dark, silent room. Well, that's called boredom. And she literally got that idea here. And so never underestimate boredom, actually appreciate it, because it can literally change your life. I bet that she has a different life right now after starting this company. So what we're gonna do in the discomfort, and no pun intended, but the framework is called DARE, and the D stands for detect. You want to just notice it, because if you don't notice it, you still are like fish in water. Like fish doesn't know she's in water. So you kind of want to take the fish and look on the whole freaking ocean, get some perspective. And you gain perspective by stopping and by observing, by noticing. The best thing you can do literally is to say out loud, I notice that I'm frustrated. I notice that I want to escape right now. I notice that I want to go on Instagram. Literally describe what you want to do, be freaking specific, because like this, you're going to get the ownership over this whole situation. And that moment, just by this, let's say, stating, you're going to get, you're going to get the power, because you have taken the ownership over it. Who has ownership has the power. And that's the first step. Then you want to accept it. You don't want to get angry with yourself. You want to be very compassionate and continue with having this compassion with yourself, because imagine that you would be like your child, and no amount of screaming, no amount of raising voice, no amount of being clever and smart about why we should be continuing and blah blah blah, and why we should not definitely feel like this right now at this moment when it's super important. Nothing will make it worse, basically, than reasoning and then being rational, super rational, and being the clever, the smart one. You want to be in a very accepting place with yourself, and you just want to be like, all right, it's all right that I'm feeling like this, and it's normal to feel like this. Accepting means sitting down and being like, okay, all right, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. And you might want to even start crying, and it's okay. You do anything you want, but you don't try to change it, all right? You don't want to basically run away from it. You don't, because it's just an emotion, and emotion is just energy in motion. Emotion, you can't really feel emotion for like 5 hours straight. It's really impossible. So this emotion will fade away eventually, maybe after 5-10 minutes. It's not going to be forever. So definitely become also like be reminded of this, that emotion will always pass. It's like craving. That's also a type of emotion. It's like this uncontrollable need to watch another episode of series. That's just an emotion. And so you just want to wait. And then what I did, and that really made me, I would say, that put me from the fun line, or let's say if I was in the line where I would be staring in the wall, that put me back in that line where I'm really aware of what I actually am doing and why I'm doing it. Why am I actually doing the thing? Because what is also true is that I don't have to do it. You can go ahead and just write down like, okay, why am I doing this? I want to help people. I don't know, maybe you don't want to waste your potential and stuff like this. And as for the fourth step, which is the last one, and it's E, it's to engage. But not to engage with the same amount of expectations. You want to engage in a form of, okay, I'm gonna write for, in my case, it would be, I'm gonna write for another 10 minutes. Or I'm going to study I'm just gonna finish the chapter. Or I'm going to study for like 20 more minutes. But not more. And just the fact of lowering the expectations, that's why I said don't have huge expectations in the beginning, because it might backfire like this. By lowering down the expectation, it's lowering down the pressure, and therefore it's creating a safe space to make mistakes, to not do, to not freaking build Rome in one day. And motivation is usually not before you're doing anything. It is usually after like 5 to 10 minutes after you do something. And so ideally you want to do this small action more than 5 to 10 minutes so that you get the motivation while you're doing the work with lower pressure, and you might want to continue doing the work. So that is the closed loop of the healthy habit. What's also another thing, the brain learns. First things first, the brain unlearns and weakens the neural pathways that you've created when you were having this non-productive old habit of relief and escapism. But it is also creating new pathways, because in the discomfort, in the moment of discomfort, the moment you decide to go a different way, the brain will always write it down. And the brain writes down everything. Like brain has, it's like 5.2 petabytes, I believe. I'm gonna write it down because we just really want to become aware of how freaking incredible, as well as the old habits are stored in there. And by not using them, by not choosing them, we weaken the neural pathways, and therefore the brain stops using them, because the brain says, okay, well it's no longer us, it's no longer part of our identity, because habits are built from identity. We're now this person, we're now the person who feels discomfort and who's like, all right, well, first things first, if you're in this middle of improving, you're like, all right, I'm gonna do the DARE framework. I'm gonna just detect, I'm gonna notice it, I'm gonna accept it. I'm not going to get angry, I'm not going to get upset, I'm not gonna get more frustrated from the fact that I'm frustrated from not, from being stuck. So I'm gonna accept it. Then I'm gonna reconnect, maybe reconnect with my why. From all the choices that I have in this life, in this world, why have I chosen to do this? And then you engage. You lower your expectations and you put the timer on 5 to 10 minutes to just continue doing what you're doing. And then you don't have to do it. you really want to say to yourself, all right, I'm gonna just do 5 to 10 minutes, and then if I really don't like it, I'm just gonna not do it for like another hour. I'm gonna go for a run. I'm gonna choose something that's giving me a healthy dopamine, though. Listen to a podcast or something like that. Read. And like this, the brain really will learn that you can survive discomfort. There's no tiger. So, yeah. And this is how I'm operating, because now, as I've noticed recently that I have had this trigger and then I've followed my own pattern. Right now, I'm really following their framework, and it never only once happened. It only once happened that I have really finished in like 10 minutes, and then I allowed myself. I usually change places. That's also very helpful. But yeah, that's basically it. And why have we discussed this? Because if you're going to continue and engage in this, let's say, low effort and high dopamine, cheap dopamine habit, you're not going to achieve the potential that you could have if you have put some more effort into healing this pattern and putting it into the healthy one, into the pattern where you have the resilience to frustration. Anyone who has created something great has persisted. And persistence is also the amount of persistence you have is the amount of belief that you have in yourself. And I believe that you believe in yourself. If you have any other questions or something was not clear enough, I'm more than happy to, clarify anything or to discuss with you any other of your questions or comments. And if so, don't hesitate to comment down below this video. And you can also send me a message on Instagram. That's going to be also in the description of this video. You can also join our free community on School. It's called Dare District, and I'll be very happy to see you there. See you very soon, guys. Thank you for being here, and stay awesome.